freedom of speech,
fundamental rights,
freedom of conscience,
academic freedom,
freedom of press,
and the right to listen.
You're listening to So to Speak, the free speech podcast, brought to you by FIRE, the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education.
I'm Tim Devine.
I'm Aaron Dunn.
And I'm Baird Miller.
And you're listening to So to Speak, the free speech podcast.
We are the interns at FIRE. It's a Foundation for Individual Rights in Education. We're at the office in Philadelphia.
Our office is right across the street from Independence Hall, the birthplace of the United States of America.
As the interns here at FIRE, we will be hosting the podcast this week.
We're taking over because Nico's in New York and the interns, they've usurped the throne.
So there was a poll that came out from the Newseum that looked at Americans' perceptions of free speech, and it found that Americans were generally supportive of free speech and as like an abstract philosophical concept, but once they started being asked questions about specific examples, people changed their tune and weren't so supportive. So we're going to go test these polls out.
Yeah, we're going to go right next to the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall and ask people what they think about freedom of speech.
And then we'll hit them with some examples, see what they think about those. Afterward, we're going to come back upstairs to talk to Will, the VP of FIRE, to talk about what everybody said. I always feel like Fred Astaire walking across this floor.
I hate the way my voice sounds when I'm recorded.
Really?
Like every time I go back.
All right. We're at the intersection of Market Street and 5th Street in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm looking at the Independence Visitor Center. It's got red, white, and blue bunting on it today for the 4th of July weekend. And people are walking around. They're clearly from all over the world. There are women in saris. There's a guy who is driving a buggy who has a top hat on. There's a guy hawking water. It's always a little iffy when you're walking up to people with a microphone in your hand. Hi, I'm doing a podcast. Love to hear your point of view for a minute.
Hi, excuse me?
Hi. Can I ask you guys a couple questions? No? All right.
Do you have 30 seconds to answer a couple questions?
That's fine.
Where are you from?
I'm from Philadelphia.
Miami, Mount Laurel,
Austin, Texas.
Jupiter,
Baltimore. Bogota, Colombia.
Columbus, Ohio,
Denver,
California.
Chicago. New York, actually.
Do you think freedom of speech protection should be applied to all citizens of the United States?
I do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yes.
definitely. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you support free speech for everyone?
Sure.
Yes.
Yes. Very much so.
As long as they respect everybody else's opinions to have free speech as well.
I do, as long as it doesn't promote violent action.
If there are any limits, what do you think those limits are?
We should have the right to say what we want, but at the same time, you need to have respect for others.
I know if I feel very strongly or passionate about something, I'm going to voice that. But what I won't do, I won't voice it in a way where it'll hurt someone else.
Do you think the government should punish someone who says something racist or sexist?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I agree. I think that if you're saying a speech, you're not allowed, or I don't know, to say something against a kind of people, a kind of group of people. I think it's negative.
I think there's like a certain area where you draw the line when it comes to freedom of speech.
I think there should be some kind of a moral compass to it. Yes, I do. In the realm, if it's not invading on someone's personal security.
Do you think there's a limit to free speech in this country? Do you think that there should be a limit on it?
I think in certain circumstances, possibly. I think free speech is a good thing and it is an American thing. But if it's hateful speech, I think there might be some limitation around that.
Do you think in general colleges respect free speech?
I don't think they do, because there's still, there's a time limit, and then also, if something's disrespectful, they'll
shut it down.
Yeah, they shut it down.
I don't think they do either. I think that they feel like they're a university, so they have the rights to say things to their students and confine their students.
Right, they don't
totally. Not totally. They've got freedom, but not like the rest of us who are not in college.
Do you think that the government should punish people who burn the American flag?
No.
Yeah, that's a little disrespectful, I guess.
Yeah.
In America, there's a lot of contention, controversy over people burning the American flag. Is that something you think that people should be allowed to do?
Queimando a bandeira americana. Se pode fazer, se acha isso certo.
No.
I don't think so. I think you have to be respectful with your country or the country that you live.
Do you think that the government should punish people who burn the American flag?
Now I don't know if I don't know if you would label that under freedom of speech. I guess that I don't think like jail time or anything like that, but if you're burning something in like the American flag in the street, that's kind of that's more of a safety thing too. Not alone. I mean, you're disgracing the country that's allowing you to live here. So I don't understand that. But
So you shouldn't be punished for your freedom of expression, but just be punished for putting others in harm's way?
yeah, I mean you're lighting a fire in the street. Would I be mad if I saw that? Yeah, but I don't think you're gonna start throwing people in jail because they having a feeling. But
Do you think that an organization like the Ku Klux Klan should be able to hold a rally right outside of state capitol?
Again, we're crossing that boundary of respect, and we also have that Westboro Baptist Church people who decide that they want to come and say whatever they want. You have a right to say whatever you want, you do, but maybe there's also should be times and places where you can say them.
I feel that there should be some kind of moral compass where people cannot protest outside of a funeral within a certain distance. So maybe there be a 500-foot or 1,000-foot distance around that would protect the family from bad comments.
The Klan, do you think they should be allowed to march in the streets of, let's say, Philadelphia, down Broad Street? If they wanted to? They shouldn't be allowed to.
No.
Okay.
What if, say, a student at a public university wants to hold a rally for neo-Nazis on campus? Do you think the campus should let that happen?
No, I do not.
Should the Ku Klux Klan be allowed to protest on a public university campus?
Yes, they should. They have the same rights as everybody else. Freedom of speech, that's cool. But they do not have the right to incite violence, I think.
Unfortunately, that is part of the freedom of speech. I may not agree with it. I dogmatically disagree with it. However, they do have that freedom of speech.
My personal opinion, because I know what they represent and what they stand for, I would say it shouldn't. But once again, we live in a free world, a free country, so they are allowed to do that within means if that's what the government is allowing them to do. But just personally and me, they shouldn't be because they don't represent anything that's good and positive. It's a lot of hate for one particular race.
Do you think colleges should be allowed to expel students for saying racist or sexist things?
I don't know if expulsion would be something because if you were to do that, there's so many kids that do make those remarks, so you'd be expelling a large majority of people, but I do believe there maybe should be some punishment for it because it's a form of bullying and definitely isn't right.
One of the things that's come up recently in the news is people supporting the Confederate flag and flying that as private citizens. Is that something that you would support?
I would not, because the Confederate flag has a history of violence towards people of color, specifically black people. It was used to promote the enslavement of African American individuals who were forced here. So in that instance, I would not say that the Confederate flag falls under the free speech category because it's a symbol of a very violent past.
So in America, we like to say that people have the right to assemble and such things like that. But what about groups like the KKK or neo-Nazi groups? Should they also have the right to protest in front of our state capitals, for example?
Everybody should have the right to protest. It's freedom of speech. You like it or hate it, that's what our principles were based on our country. So it's just the way it is. If you start amending the freedom of speech or any other amendment or whatever, it's not good because that's not what everybody died for this country for.
All right, so we're back from getting those interviews, and I'm looking over the shoulder of Will Creeley here. I see Independence Hall right outside the window. Will Creeley is a vice president here at FIRE, and we're going to have a conversation with him about what we learned.
We sure are. Thanks, Tim. It's fun to be here. It's post 4th of July weekend, but we've got a lot to talk about. Thinking about the folks you spoke with, did you leave? I mean, we're all free speech advocates here, right? We believe in the naive, maybe uniquely American, maybe radically optimistic ideal of free speech. But did you leave optimistic yourselves about the folks you spoke with and their understanding of free speech?
I was very surprised at the percentage of people who, although they didn't like the speech, they were willing to protect the speech of those they hated.
Maybe we were talking to different people, because I definitely ran into those who said that there was a restriction on free speech and that there were limits and that they were willing to maybe support free speech in the abstract and say, yes, I do believe in free speech for everyone, but as soon as you started asking specifics, they said, that's too far.
So when you went out to talk to folks on the street, you were prompted by this recent poll from the Newseum that demonstrates some interesting discrepancies in attitudes about free speech along, for example, age. So did your experiences talking to folks back that up? Did you find older people more sympathetic towards free speech ideals and younger people differently? And I'm also curious if you observed any other kind of discrepancies. Now, I know that you are not getting any kind of scientific sample size out there, but just curious as to whether different folks reacted in different ways, in a way that you could discern.
So based on the people who I talked to, I would say that older folks definitely did have kind of a quicker reaction to say, yes, free speech is important. When I would give some examples, maybe of flying the Confederate flag or the KKK organizing a march, they'd, say, I don't really like that, but I'm definitely going to support that right for even speech that I personally find distasteful to be a part of our society. Whereas when I talk to some younger folks, I heard more of the lines that we're hearing out of America's colleges. Well, that's hurtful. That's something that really offends people. That's something that makes people feel uncomfortable. It's something that makes people feel unwelcome. That's not good for society. And I think that maybe that's a product of, young people hearing these things on college campuses or maybe learning them when they're in high school. But I also think it might be a product of an older generation having lived through a time when free speech and the ability of groups protesting for civil rights, for example, or to end the Vietnam War, really made use of their free speech and First Amendment rights and saw drastic change as a result.
Other folks, Tim, Baird, what do you guys think?
Yeah, it's funny because when I was growing up in my house, we had a saying, you might have heard the saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me. I say that to my cousins who are only 5 years younger than me. They're like, what are you talking about? Words can hurt. The people who I talked to, the younger people I talked to, they were much quicker to self-censor.
Here I think is the inherent problem with asking people about their views on free speech. Because everybody who says, yes, I'm pro-free speech, has a short list of things they don't include when they say that. And sometimes that list only includes things that the law includes, like obscenity, properly defined, like child pornography, like a threat against somebody that is specific and maybe part of a criminal act. But sometimes that list also involves what people talk about like hate speech or, even just being rude. So it's hard, I think, and that's maybe the issue with the poll, and that's the reason we were asking more than just do you support free speech, to get a clear answer, because the line has to be drawn somewhere, and it's unclear to people where.
Did anybody mention hate speech, that elusive concept that we talk about here at FIRE quite a bit?
I did talk about hate speech, and I asked people, do you think people should be expelled from college campuses for saying hateful things? Do you think the government should punish offensive speech? And maybe I got a strange sample size, but just about everyone I talked to said no, the government should not decide what is and what is not acceptable.
So, one of the people who I asked, well, are there some words that should be banned on college campuses? And the response I got was, yeah, there are. There are some things that don't belong in that university community. And I think that is addressing exactly what you're talking about with an understanding of hate speech, or what we would probably consider to be a misunderstanding of how that is legally defined and how that can be enforced.
More civics education. Again, the answer. Well, Erwin Chemerinsky, noted constitutional scholar and dean of UC Hastings School of Law, had a great column a couple months ago. We linked it on the FIRE website. You can check it out on our blog, The Torch. And in the piece, Chemerinsky basically makes the argument that what we need are widely understood definitions of the exceptions to free speech. I mean, if everybody walked around understanding what was and what was not actionable harassment, we'd be in a better place in terms of understanding where our rights to free speech begin and end. And boy, I find that pretty persuasive. So go check that out on our blog, The Torch. Okay, flag burning. 4th of July weekend, maybe the apex in our national appreciation for the flag. I've got an almost 2-year-old son. He is obsessed with flags. He actually fell asleep holding small flags.
That's adorable.
It was adorable. We put it on Instagram, #NotPosed. It's a real thing. So do people feel differently about the flag?
Well, from what you heard, one of the people who I talked to did feel differently, that the flag is something that, you should respect, that should be venerated as a national symbol, and that sets it apart from other modes of expression and other things that people might choose to engage in. And I think that maybe on the 4th of July there is some patriotic sentiment, and there was recently a incident that happened that I think Reason magazine wrote about fairly extensively, where a young man was actually arrested for burning the American flag on the 4th of July. And the fact that that's something that's still going on in America truly demonstrates to me that there isn't this understanding of the protection even accorded to something that a lot of Americans might view as reprehensible as burning our own flag.
In the 40s, even the Supreme Court went back and forth with itself on whether people should be asked to salute the flag. So the idea of flag burning as protected speech is really divisive.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that Scalia, writing the decision for Texas v. Johnson, which declared the constitutionality of flag burning, he said, I know I'm making the right choice because I hate it.
So this is why FIRE has perhaps the best interns in the country, possibly the globe. They're citing cases at me. I'm FIRE's Vice President of Legal and Public Advocacy. They're bringing the cases. I love it. We haven't even got to that in our reading yet. That's great work. I'm hearing a lot more of the, well, I may disagree with what you say, but it's a free country. Go ahead. Than I thought I would. I thought you guys were going to come back with stories like, yeah, people think that, not only should you not be able to voice ideas that are unpopular, but you should be arrested. I mean, I just was kind of bracing myself for something much more doom and gloom in terms of people's understanding of free speech.
Well, you have to remember, we're in Philadelphia, not on a college campus right here. I mean, we're at Center City and not, up at Swarthmore or UPenn's campus. And I think that maybe does make the difference, because I'm a college student. The other interns here sitting next to me are college students. And from talking to people around my campus, and I know that if I did this, and I've done similar things to this on my campus, that what you would hear is a lot more of what you feared that we would have heard past week when we were out doing this.
Okay, let me issue a challenge to any listeners to this podcast who are college students. Repeat this experiment. Get yourself a microphone, or just use your cell phone if you have one, and get out there and ask every fourth person who walks past your quad. I think all colleges are required to have a quad or something, right? And find out what people think and send it back to us. That'd be fascinating to hear.
This podcast is produced by Nico Perino and FIRE summer interns Aaron Dunn, Baird Miller, and me, Tim Devine. So to Speak is edited by Aaron Reese and Chris Maltby.
For more information about the show, follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/freespeechtalk, or like us on Facebook at facebook.com/so-to-speak podcast. You can email us feedback at sotospeak@thefire.org or call in a question for a future show at 215-315-0100. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Tune in 2 weeks from now for a first-of-its-kind interview with Kelly Carlin, Rain Pryor, and Kitty Bruce. They are the daughters of comedy legends George Carlin, Richard Pryor, and Lenny Bruce. We'll be talking with them at the Helium Comedy Club in downtown Philadelphia before the release later this month of Can We Take a Joke, a Fire-supported documentary about what happens when comedy, censorship, and outrage culture collide. For more information about the movie, you can visit canwetakeajoke.com. Thanks for listening.